Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaykum, dear listeners. I hope you're all well. Today is day 17 of Ramadan here in the UK. And today I will delve into the profound insight offered by Surah Al-Ma, which sets out the behavioral tendencies of those who have morally poor character and who deny the idea of accountability towards Allah. This reflection will link with the next two episodes, where I will talk about the idea of charity in the Qur'an and then link this with the purpose of Sharia. Surah Al-Ma is chapter 107 and it comprises of 7 verses. It was revealed in Makkah in the early years of Prophet Muhammad's mission. There is both a historical context to the surah and a universal moral message. Maulana Amin Ahsan Islahi sets out the historical context by linking this chapter with the previous two, Surah Al-Fil and Surah Al-Quraysh, that remind the tribe of Quraysh that they enjoyed the bounties of God and immense wealth because they looked after the holy site of the Kaaba. As custodians, they were expected to use their wealth to care for the wayfarer, the pilgrim, and the orphan. But they chose to enjoy the riches that came to Makkah and turned away from their responsibilities whilst showing off their prayer in the Kaaba. This is one of the reasons why the custodianship of the Kaaba was taken away from them. Surah Al-Ma'un gives keen insight into the dichotomy between appearance and behavior that we see amongst people engaged in performative piety, whose sole aim is to earn society's admiration. The telling thing about their lack of integrity is how they treat the vulnerable and how they behave in situations that require only small acts of kindness. Ma'un. The word ma'un, which appears in the surah's title, is used only once in the Qur'an and is best translated as small kindnesses. Literally, it means items of daily use like utensils, vessels, or perhaps even a small bowl. Within the context of the surah, my personal sense is that the Qur'an is referring to a small bowl of food or a morsel of bread. Let's read the surah and the translation. I will use Yusuf Ali's translation to begin with, and then I will bring some other perspectives in. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. أَرَأَيْتَ الَّذِي يُكَذِّبُ بِالدِّينِ فَذَلِكَ الَّذِي يَدُعُّ الْيَتِيمَ وَلَا يَحُضُّ عَلَى طَعَامِ الْمِسْكِينِ فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ يُرَاءُونَ وَيَمْنَعُونَ الْمَاعُونَ. Seest thou one who denies the judgment to come? Then such is the man who repulses the orphan with harshness. Yadu'u pushes away, and encourages not the feeding of the indigent. So, woe to the worshippers who are neglectful of their prayers, those who want but to be seen of men, but refuse to supply even neighborly needs. Like Yusuf Ali, Maulana Islahi also translates the word deen in the first verse as judgment, or denial of the day of reward and punishment. But I was struck by the translation given by Muhammad Asad in his tafsir, the Master of the Qur'an, who uses the word moral law for deen. I felt that this sits better in the internal context of this chapter. So let me read out Muhammad Asad's translation. Hast thou ever encountered, I beg your pardon, I'll start again. Hast thou ever considered the kind of man who gives the lie to all moral law? Behold, it is this kind of man that thrusts the orphan away and feels no urge to feed the needy. Woe, then, unto those praying ones whose hearts from their prayer are remote, those who want only to be seen and praised, and withal deny all assistance to their fellow men. The most notable insight in this surah is about the smallness of the kindness required. Here, the Qur'an calls our attention to the fact that these outwardly pious people are in fact petty and stingy. They find it difficult to put a dollop of butter on a piece of bread to give away. They are reluctant to fill a soup bowl to the brim. They cannot even bring themselves to speak a kind word. Instead, they physically push away the orphan. In doing so, they stand as the rejectors of moral law, empty of any empathy towards someone's struggles. The Qur'an mentions the orphan and the needy, yatama and masakeen, multiple times. Muslims often focus on the legal aspects of the Quran, but they forget that throughout the book, it is the vulnerable who sit at the center. Allah is very concerned about the poor, the widow, the wayfarer, the needy, the orphan, the enslaved, the alienated. Again and again, He exhorts us to use our privilege and blessings to elevate those who face harsh circumstances. So, the real test for us as a community of believers is how we treat the vulnerable. I'm afraid this is not a test we are likely to pass if we continue with our petty cruelties. Dear listeners, within our social circle, we will know many people who engage in prayer and nawafil, who make a big fuss about their orientation towards Allah and blow the trumpet of their own piety. And then we will see them give stale bread to their servants. Their prayer is worthless because it doesn't soften their hearts. When hearts are soft, we start seeing the vulnerable children and the poor amongst us. We engage in small kindnesses and we avoid petty behavior. We see the destitute immigrant who risks life and limb to seek a better life, the asylum seeker fleeing war and persecution, the estranged teenager who is homeless. They are all around us, and yet so many of us choose to forget, or we buy into toxic narratives about those who are the most deserving of assistance. The key reflection is this: Allah curses those who pray for the purpose of seeking social approval, yet are petty and stingy towards those whom they can help with small kindnesses. Performative prayer is of little value. Sincere prayer softens our hearts. Assalamu alaykum.